Welcome back. We've been chatting with Attorney General Alan Wilson about a very serious, really a serious crime that is so prevalent here in South Carolina, which just kind of blows my mind that so many people would be invested in the child pornography business. But there was something that you wanted to mention about a particular subpoena bill, and I want people to understand how this works.
We talked about the other bill in the last segment, but there's another bill in the legislature that we want people to encourage their House members to support, and most are, but that's an administrative subpoena bill. And basically, the layperson version of it is, right now, in order for us to go out, if a bad guy is out there uploading child porn, we only see the IP address. We don't know the name or the address of the person. So we have to go to the federal government, to the United States Attorney's Office. They can do an administrative subpoena for us that allows us to go to the internet service provider to find the name behind the IP address is John Doe at 123 Elm Street, and then we go get a warrant for the computer. This cuts out the federal government. This gives me the authority to go to the internet service provider directly and get that person's name so that we can execute a warrant. This streamlines the process. It makes it easier for us to go after child predators and to protect children here in South Carolina.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I can't imagine why that wouldn't pass.
We need to get it passed.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this other thing. It's called 764.
Yes.
I've never heard of this before until we started talking today. Tell us what this is.
So 764 is a movement that's going across the United States of America. Until about a month ago, I had never heard of 764 movement either. 764 derives its name from an area code in Texas where the movement began. The movement has its roots in neo-Nazi and satanic organizations. It's very dark, it's very disturbing, and what it is it involves mostly adolescents from the ages of 10 to 17, in basically abusing other adolescents. And what they're doing is usually 15, 16-year-olds will find younger adolescents and they will get them to engage in, they'll go to various gaming platforms or online platforms like Discord and things like that. And they encourage kids to engage in self-mutilation. They engage in all kinds of things like animal abuse, animal cruelty, to include killing animals, bestiality. And in some rare instances, they will talk
dark
well,
stuff.
wait. They talk some kids into committing suicide on streamings just for the pleasure and amusement of the onlookers. And they use that, and they use that as content. And they use some of that content to blackmail these kids to recruit new kids into this movement, and they just try to grow their movement. It's decentralized. Last month, I met with the FBI here in South Carolina. They showed us the videos, they showed us the pictures, they talked about how it wasn't here until recently, and now it's going across our state, and we're trying to raise awareness to parents and schools. And Ellen Weaver, the state superintendent, sent out our letter and our PSA to all the schools to notify parents that this is going on.
You say this is ages 10 to 17. How are parents not somehow aware that this is going on?
Well, you know, when I talked to the feds, they said, look, a lot of this activity is happening in under the same roofs that the parents are downstairs, the kids up in their room, engaging in this behavior or promoting this behavior. And what I tell parents is, you would not let your child go around the world by themselves. But every day, parents let their children go around the World Wide Web.
That's true.
And kids get away with so much now. They have access to the world in their pocket, on their Xbox, on their computers, tablets. So understanding that this is a real danger, it's prevalent in our homes, and we need to be vigilant. You need to be on the lookout for several signs. Obviously, if you see your teen having extreme mood disorders, suffering from anxiety or depression, those could be telltale signs. If you see your teen or your child wearing like long clothes, long sleeve, long pants in very hot weather, you know, a lot of this is self-mutilation where they're cutting themselves and doing blood signs. So be observant of your child, and if you suspect that your child is the victim or the promoter of this, call the FBI here in South Carolina, because they are already on top of this, and we are working with them to investigate and prosecute these cases.
Now, you gave some signs, but who would you say are some of the most vulnerable that could be the target for this type of activity?
Well, what we've noticed is that they're looking for kids who already suffer from mental health issues. I mean, these are kids that might have mood disorders or types of anxiety. These are kids that are already isolated, right? They don't really have a social group or a friend group. Maybe they come from a bad family situation. Maybe they come from a good family situation, but are getting bullied at school. And kids are looking to belong to something, and sometimes kids will belong to organizations or groups. That's how gangs recruit. They offer them a family, they offer them a group to belong to, and then before you know it, they're sucked into that world and they're the victim of it.
That's terrible. A lot of parents right now are watching this and they're going to think, not under my roof, that would never happen. But unless you're really keeping an eye on your child all the time. I mean, that's how I grew up.
Google 764 movement. Just Google it and go
okay.
read about it. Parents, go 764 on Google, 764 movement. Read about it.
So what are we doing here in South Carolina to fight this movement, to make sure that it does not enter the homes and the lives of these children?
We are first off raising awareness with local law enforcement and prosecutors. We are partnering with the FBI. They have already done a debrief with my senior staff and me. We intend to support their efforts as they continue to investigate. We're going to use state resources, obviously coordinated with federal resources, to go after this.
Attorney General Alan Wilson, thank you so much for joining us again. Appreciate your time. We'll be back after this.